So let's start with something pretty common. So the group from like here, divide two of you, right? So the first group on the left, right? The motion, you can choose your side. I'm not going to give you cross or the other.
Hey, sorry.
Oh, hello there. Yay, partying last night, huh?
No, we were just here. We just went to grab those.
Okay. That's even worse. We're partying, so I was just like, nah.
No, we'll be partying tonight.
Okay, right. So what's going to happen right now is that you're going to be in the group from the left, and I'm going to give you the motion, and you can pick your side, but you need to develop one argument completely, right? Okay. One argument. Okay. So group on the left, right? This house supports Western cooperation with Iran, or Western cooperation with Iran. It doesn't really matter. Yeah. Okay. If you have any questions, now it's time. And you're elected to be. All right. Okay. The group in the middle, from this where you got it from Ivan actually to here. In the middle. Okay. Right? So the group in the middle. This house believes that the schooling system yeah, the schooling system should only this house believes that the schooling system should only teach practical things. Okay? So practical things in terms that things that are very useful for your future work or whatever, right? You probably wouldn't be studying or have to learn philosophy if you're going to be an engineer, right? That's it. Okay? Make sense? Cool. Sweetest at the end. Just laugh, just laugh. You're gonna need the coffee for this one. Not kidding. This house would sue okay, background. Very short background. In Nepal, before the earthquake, you know that the Nepal had the earthquake and lots of people died, right? Okay, just a week before that, there was a summit of experts who were warning their government, Nepal's government, about possibility of very, very big earthquake, right? And they didn't know at the exact time, obviously, right? Because we don't have methodology to know that. But they said very, very soon there's going to be a huge earthquake, and it's going to be devastating for Nepal. Okay, that's the background. So this house would sue the government of Nepal for ignoring warnings of experts on earthquake. We would sue them for the sake of the motion or for the sake of the argument in front of the International Criminal Court, let's say, okay? Or something like that. It doesn't have to be criminal court. It can be Strasbourg's human rights court. It can be whatever, right? So this house would sue the government of Nepal for ignoring experts' warnings on earthquake. All right, get up. Get up. So, your argument is, go. Right, the rest of the people, listen to this because I will ask you to comment on this. Okay? Just listen to everybody's argument as they're going to listen to yours. Is that okay? Go.
Okay, so this house supports Western cooperation with Iran on its nuclear non-proliferation program. So I'm acting as government, so basically I support this. And my argument is the following. Cooperation with Iran on this deal will turn traditional enemies such as Iran, ever since 1979, into a strategic ally in the region, which will in fact result in cooperation in resolving the crisis in the Middle East, namely ISIS and the crisis in Syria, and therefore lead to more stability, and the other states in the region will feel safer if Iran does not have this nuclear program.
All right, stay standing. What do you guys think of this? Any comments?
Question. Are you for or against the nuclear program?
I support the program. I support the cooperation with Iran on the program. I'm not against government.
That's pretty clear. Yeah? Any comments? No? No one? Right. A couple of things. Firstly, you shouldn't be telling us whether or not your argument is forward or against the motion. It should be clear from the argument, right? Right. As it is. It's fine, right? Secondly, how many arguments do you have there?
Well, several. This is what I said. The problem is turning into an essay instead of developing one single argument.
All right. Why is that?
Maybe the argument itself is not really clear, so it needs some explanation, historical background on the issue.
So, okay, what is the first thing that you're claiming in your argument?
Well, I'm claiming it will lead to stability and conflict resolution.
No. The first thing that you said that you're claiming is that you're going to make Iran be your friend.
Okay.
Is that a first thing?
Oh, more or less.
Okay.
Not explicitly.
Okay. Do you see a leap there? Like a leap, jump?
Yeah. Turning a traditional enemy to an ally.
Why do you do that? Why not just saying, oh, it's way better if we cooperate with Iran instead of being silent and like, you know, be against one another and, you know, having diplomacy, which is always turned like, you know, cold. Why is that not enough for you to make a good argument for people to support the motion? Why do you think that you need to call them friends?
Well, because in a crisis like this, if you're the West, you're definitely a big player in the region, so you cannot stay aloof. You have to either be friends or allies. There's no middle ground. So you have to take sides.
It's not like, okay, first thing that you have to learn. Debate is never here or here, right? Debate is always here. And most of the motions, most of the debates that we have in BP are about, like, if this is the scope of debating, right? And if you can think about radical or extreme examples that are here and here, right? Most of the debates are here. And if you're talking about those stuff, or that stuff, like on the, you know, either side of the scope, you're most probably missing the point. Okay? Right. So of course they can work together and don't have to be friends, right? Right. They can just work together. That's enough. And if you explain us just why is that good, and why is it better for them to work together rather than not to talk and like be, you know, cold relations and everything, that's good enough. You don't have to call them friends. You don't have to save the world. Don't never try to save the world in one debate. That's never going to work, right? It's enough. You don't have to go to stability. I mean, of course you're going to use like the argument of stability within this argument, right? Because that's the whole point. But apart from that, no need for exaggerating. No need, you know, to make things prettier than they are. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. Right? That's the first thing you can say.
You?
Yeah. Secondly, would you strategically pick the argument like this? Is that the most important thing that comes to your mind about this motion?
Being allies with the country?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is how to get them to have a peaceful nuclear program rather than nuclear.
Are we going to hear that argument right now?
Well, my argument is that supporting Western cooperation with Iran will actually ensure that the program is peaceful, because we can supply the technology.
That's the whole point, right?
Yes, we can supply the technology and we have strings attached, some sort of monitoring mechanism to ensure they don't break out.
Okay. Okay.
May I go this argument?
Please do.
Well, our house supports Western cooperation with Iran on their nuclear effort, which is based on the ideas of the so-called father of the European Union. Everyone here knows that it is Uъркшопът. And what do I mean exactly by this? By saying that we are supporting this program based on these ideas? Well, our idea is to establish a cooperation which is based on the nuclear sources, depriving the partners from taking sources on their own, which is the so-called atomic coal and steel community organization on the European Union, and thus dividing the sites. In that way, everyone separately is completely deprived from doing a nuclear program on its own. So our argument, single argument, is that the nuclear program is without the necessary resources. We claim that cooperation is more, this kind of cooperation is more precautious than being against this program. So depriving the Iran to take sources on its own, it is more of precautious than to be enemies with Iran.
All right. Did you all get this argument? Yeah. Did you understand the argument?
Yes.
And right. Why do you think is that? Why do you think people don't get your argument?
First, because it's too complicated, and secondly, maybe because most of the people don't know about Schumann ideas, and third, because my argument is not clear.
Is that an argument?
Maybe it's more of a statement.
Maybe it's more of a proposition of a model.
Yeah.
How will you solve something? It's not an argument. Why is that problematic? You can also say. Why is that problematic?
Well, it's not clearing the idea of supporting the topic. Because I have a proposition, but I cannot fulfill my argumentation without verifying one single thesis.
Okay. You need to develop your ideas. So it's not enough to say a couple of statements and claim that you made an argument, because that's not an argument. This is also not an argument. Several problems. Firstly, it's a model. Secondly, it's a far-fetched model. Now you're claiming that we're going to become, you know, we're going to establish a union with Iran, and we're going to be dependable on our resources. Nobody's trying to do that. It's unrealistic. Bless you. And it's completely, nobody's going to believe that. Right? Leave aside Schumann ideas, because even if there is a guy, there was a guy, whatever, right, that had brilliant ideas. So you can, you know, always say, oh, Immanuel Kant, or you can always say any of the philosophers, like, you know, Bernard Shaw or whomever, right? You can always point and say, ooh, but look, Spinoza was saying that X, Y, Z. Nobody cares. It's debate, right? It's a real kind of thing. We're talking about real problems in society right now, right? If you have philosophy debate, then you can use all of those ideas. But even then, you don't need references to names. You need references to ideas, right? So if you're telling us about the idea, explain the, you know, the mechanism behind the idea. That's enough, right? Saying names makes you smart. It doesn't mean a debate. Is that okay? Right? Except if you have a lunatic, right, sitting in your judging panel who's like, I love Schumann ideas. And when he says Schumann ideas, he's like, yes, marry me. And then he's also a bad judge, of course, because he's going to fall for his own ideals rather than for your imitation. Right? Exactly, right? So don't do that, right? And that's for all of you. Don't use, like, you know, big names to win the argument. That's not how it works. Right? Ooh, you know what? But we have very few philosophers of that time who said, and then you name the philosophers, right? X, Y, Z doesn't really matter, right? From Aristotle and Plato to, you know, whomever today, right? Slavoj Žižek, for instance. And you're like, he said that, and everybody's in the room, yeah, you win this debate. It doesn't work like that, right? Just don't pinpoint names. All right, third person from the group, come. One here, come.
I can add up to Julian's argument, by the way. We basically had, quite the same general idea. So why is this security will increase? Why are we going to be certain that, in fact, Iran won't, create nuclear weapons? Well, basically, there are two technologies which you can use. One is to create nuclear reactors, where you need to you need uranium about 30%. So you have to rise it up to 3%. And nuclear weapons take a whole other technology. So having the United States applying actual technology, that will ensure that they will in fact use that to create nuclear reactors or weapons.
All right.
Does that fill up the proof?
Okay. Thanks. Anybody got this? Okay. Pretty clear. We're going to challenge them with technology, and they're, won't be able to use what they want to use, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Something like that, right? What's the problem with this argument, if there's one? Does anybody have a problem with this?
Isn't this again a model?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. Like if they decide to cooperate, then we, definitely one of the benefits is going to be that, they will need new technologies, we're going to provide them. If they get technology, they'll probably take it. Once they take it, they pretty much control what's going on. No. It's dependency argument. Not that bad, right? Same as if you're, for instance, selling weapons to someone. The moment when they buy your weapons, you control them. Why? Because of the maintenance, because of the ammunition, right? And everything else. So the moment you sell them your weapons, they're dependent on you. Right? It's very simple, very straightforward. Pretty clear. What's the only problem when he got up? He spent like 10 seconds, or 50, out of the 30 that he used to make an argument, saying, this is the argument about da-da-da-da-da. You know that you want to da-da-da-da-da. Don't. Get up and tell us the argument. Same as if you were in debate. Don't make an introduction to your argument. Make an argument. If you need the background story or the context, make that part of your argument. It's going to be more believable, it's going to be stronger, it's going to be called the deeper level of analysis, some people like to call it, right? Or most of the judges. And that's only because the deeper level of analysis means that you placed it in the right context, in the real world, and that you covered most of the things that people can think of, right? Nothing else. All right, group in the middle. No, sorry, before that. Group on the left. Whoever was in group from the left, right? Go outside right now on the terrace. Get up. Get up.
Can we out here?
Only if you bring us. You will go outside. You will have the same motion. You can divide yourselves in 2 or 3 groups. Your call, I don't care, right? I want to hear 2 different cases. 2 different cases on the motion that you already have. Cases, not arguments. Cases.
Okay. The whole thing.
Basically, I need the team line, and I need the outline of the organization. Is that okay? Bye-bye.
How much time do we have?
Not enough. Group in the middle. Volunteers.
Okay. We all know what's the topic. I don't know why. We mustn't force the children to learn only practical things, because this forces them on a certain path that many of them won't choose for themselves because they're still little. and many children change their mind on what they want to do while they are at school. And if we decide what will be practical from them from the get-go and teach only this, not everything, and some practical things, this forces them to learn only those things which will be either for engineer or medical or something like that. And if we take for an example class in school that it concentrates on biology, many from the children, in fact, until they finish school, they no longer want to continue with biology and medicine. Many of them change their minds during school. And this is an example that shows that we shouldn't only teach practical things, because if children don't learn from every possible topic, they will be forced on a certain path that they won't be the one to choose.
All right? Comments? No comments. Was it clear?
Somewhat clear, yet he went back and forth on some of the things he said, and he had to jumpstart sentences in order to explain his argument.
Okay, is it a strong argument? No. Why?
Because they might not want to study the subjects even if they are not practice-based, even at the moment when they are theory-based. We might still think that we force our choice on them. Because he was talking about taking away the choice from the children and forcing them to certain direction and things that they might not want. But that this might happen also, or happen also when they learn the subject theoretically, like what it is now.
You're saying that it's not believable enough, right? Because there is something else you can believe in. However, now the question for all of you. So she's saying that a common thing, right, to think of is different. So she's basically saying that the argument is counterintuitive, right, at some of its parts, or at least part of it, right? It's counterintuitive because, normally, you would think of something else, and normally your opinion would be a little bit different, right? Why is that problematic for the argument, or is it? Yes. We've never been in a debate. We've never seen the argument. We don't know what intuitive is. Yes? When something is counterintuitive. So, for instance, I'm saying to you now that in 10 minutes here is going to be a great wild party and we're going to have, I don't know, 200 people here and dancing, screaming, and there's going to be a lot of booze and everything. Would you believe me?
No.
Why? It's a great place for a party. We have more than 200 people here. Nikki has a lot of booze. Where's the problem? There are speakers all around. Why is that not believable?
Because it's 11 a.m.
Well, that's great. You still did not get sober from the last night, so you can just continue drinking. It's fine. Yeah. Any other problems that we have?
Yes, you're going to get fired. They won't get you to be a speaker.
We're going to party, so who cares, right? Okay, what else? That's one of the reasons. Probably the other one is it's 11 a.m. Anything else?
We have a plan already.
We have a schedule. We have some things to do, right? What else?
Who's going to buy? Who's going to give us the money for the
Where's the booze, right?
Nikki has it.
Nikki has it, right? So there are a couple of reasons, right? They're forming your opinion about something. And you're saying, right, it's not believable that it happens, right? Probably we're not going to have a party. In order for you to make a strong counterintuitive argument, right, you have to cover most of those things. It would be great if you can cover all of those things, but 7 minutes is not nearly enough, right, to cover everything that pops up in your mind. But most important parts you have to cover. You have to explain the mechanism and to make people believe in your argument, although it's counterintuitive. Okay? If you don't do that, though, right? And then the object is getting up and they're saying obvious stuff, like, it's 11 a.m. Or, like, you know, people decide to be educated, blah, 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 and every judge is like, yeah, that's more believable. Right? So you have to explain the mechanism in each bit of your argument if you want to make a good argument, especially if it's counterintuitive. So that means that you have to explain us the reasoning behind what's going to be changed from the status quo if they're learning only practical things, and whether or not that is good or bad. How the perception of schooling is going to change, or how the, you know, the product of schooling is going to change. What is the set of skills that they're going to learn there, and why is that good or bad for them at the end of the day? What is the second problem with his approach to this motion? This is not to say that you had a bad approach. This is just for all of you to learn something, and I'm just using your arguments as an example, examples, so you can, you know, learn faster. So, what is the other problem with the approach to the motion? What kind of motion is this? In comparison to Iran and nuclear deal, what kind of motion is this? Problem. So, we already, in the Iran motion, right, we already have something that happened. We already have some kind of a deal that we know of. People, experts worked on it, politicians as well. So we know that they have some kind of a deal, right? And it already exists. And now we're discussing whether or not we support West in general, like, that we support their action in terms of working on that deal and working together with Iran, right? We're not discussing the deal itself. We can, but that's not our burden. Is that okay? When we get a motion like this, right, that the schooling system should only teach practical things, do we have any idea who we're talking about? What age? No idea. It can be elementary school, it can be high school, it can be university at the end of the day. Right? You need to define that. There are small kids, they're only going to learn practical stuff. Well, you're definitely not going to teach, like, the 7-year-old how to, you know, how to do engineering stuff or how to fix something, probably, right? You're probably going to teach them how to read, how to do the basic math, and stuff like that.
Which is practical.
Which is practical in life, but it very, very much depends whether or not, like, I mean, that's already the status quo, so you're not arguing for the motion, right? So you have to define who you're talking about. Okay?
You can say that we are for all school time, or we still need to define that we are talking about from first grade till test.
The whole point is that when you see the motion, you have to realize that you have to define some things before arguing for or against the motion. If you don't define things, then we are talking like something up in the air. Right? Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Go. No. Did we say that each and every one of you has to have an argument? A separate argument. Do you have one?
Yep.
And do you have one? It's almost the same. Okay. Get up, tell me the argument, and we'll see the difference. To see how different it is.
Okay. Pascal believes that the schooling system should only teach practical things. When we talk about schooling system, we mean the whole process of studying, of learning, without focus on those small kids which have to learn how to read or how to do the basic math. We talk about children on the age of maybe 16, 17, high school, when they have a general idea what they want to do with their lives. And we don't mean that practical things is
only math or only literature or something like that. We mean a whole cycle which should be learned, it should be understood by those children.
All right. Do you think that the learning practical things only in school, only practical things in school is the status quo? Is that a status quo right now? No. All right. What is changing with your model?
We give the children the opportunity to concentrate on what they are interested in.
Well, they can do that in some of the countries, like not everywhere in the world the educational system is like in Bulgaria or Serbia or Balkans in general, right? There are some countries where they can already do that. But what is changing in your model?
Okay, we change the system in Bulgaria.
All right. So now we are framing the idea. How do you change it? What is practical? If I want to be a philosopher, for me it's very practical to learn philosophy. So you're not arguing the motion, you're arguing the fact that people can choose and decide what they want to learn and study, right? Even before they go to university, rather in high school. And that's not to say that there are only going to be thought practical things. Okay. Make sense? All right. Okay. Your argument?
Well, our idea was that actually studying only practical stuff at school would make young people more literate in concrete areas. What we mean by saying that is after people in high school have already studied the basic stuff like maths or literature, etc., the system is going to force them to study what the market requires, for example. And actually that's the basic idea.
All right, so you're going to make schooling dependent on the market base.
Or university. Or university.
University. Have you ever heard about the notion that we would institute quotas in universities based on the requirements of the market?
No, really?
All right, now you have. So basically that's it, right? In one sentence. Well, we're going to make quotas in the university, depending on the market, and you cannot go to study for something if the market doesn't need it, because you're going to be jobless anyway, right? Okay, but does that say that it's practical? Does that define practical things? Sort of. Sort of. I agree. I agree. You need to define what is practical for us to be able to have debate on the motion. Okay? Cool. Cool. Anyone from the third group wants to volunteer? Go.
All right. So I believe that this House should sue the government of for ignoring the experts' warnings about the earthquake that happened there. And before starting with the argument, I want to identify what I understand by very soon. And I believe that very soon means the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. So I believe that the government should be sued because the government is directly responsible for the welfare of the people in the country, for the health care of the people, and therefore it's responsible for the health of the people and for the lives of the people. And if the government knows kind of information and it doesn't share it with the people, which information holds in it some other information about the risks for the lives of the people, and the government decides for some reasons to hide that information from the masses, it should be sued because this is morally and socially unacceptable. If the government actually managed to make a research about the unstable buildings in the country, if the government actually made a research about which are exactly the regions in the country where before there's been some kind of activity about previous earthquakes and stuff, it would definitely have had the chance to decrease the range of places where this disaster may have occurred. So it gives even higher chances to predict where this may have happened. So it gives again chances to find the disabled people, for example, who live in those areas, and to evacuate those disabled people, because they will definitely die if such thing happened, as it happened, and those people died. More than 5,000 people, if I'm not sure, but I think it's something like that, actually died. Besides that, the government would have investigated for such cases. It would have informed people, because the government, as it was chosen from the people, is responsible for the lives of the people. And if the government, because the normal people, they cannot directly receive such information. Those experts gave the information to the government, so the government, as a representative of the people, is responsible for sharing the information from the experts with the people. And therefore, there wouldn't have been so many dead people, there wouldn't have been so many harmful situations for the economy, because many people died, many buildings were destroyed. I think there was some long building in the center of Kathmandu which was down, and it's no longer there. So it's a historical building, people go there, they pay money to watch it, and now it's gone. So for those reasons, I believe that the government should be sued, because it's totally responsible.
Any comments on this?
No.
Really good one. One piece of advice. Don't complicate it. Don't say if they have an information that contains another information. You're just going to get confused, especially if you're nervous and in the middle of debate. If they have the information that they didn't share, dot. Okay? Apart from that, beautiful argument. Beautiful. If you have 3 of those or 2 of those in your speech, you will have fantastic speech. Okay? That's how the argument should look like. Really good. Really good. Anyone else on the same motion? Before I go and pick up, what's funny? What's so funny? Sure.
Mine, when I think, when it's...
Ah, your argument.
Yeah.
Let's hear that.
Oh.
Come on.
Okay, I thought that I looked on the social aspect of the...
Why is that bad?
Of the motion, but, well, I see that I didn't look at the social aspect. I mean, not at all.
Let us hear it.
Okay, so the government should take care of the people. So, yeah, it's obviously. And it's not moral to not warn your people for some very, yeah, for the dangers that this might. Okay. Okay. So.
Is there something funny about all the people who died there?
No, it's just okay. Yes, there was a chance to panic the people if they warn them, but it's very bad not to take care of your people. As he said, there are many alternatives for saving their lives, but the government didn't done that. So so it's not moral to do that to your people. It's not okay to just let so many people die. And hey, and just to let so many people die. And yeah, that's all.
I'm not sure I'm completely getting your argument. Give me a sec. It's fine. I'm not sure I'm completely getting your argument. Are you defending them for not saying and not making panic, or you're saying that they should have told them because it's not moral to let your people die?
I said that they should have told them because it's not moral to let all those people die.
Okay. So you're talking about the part of morality, right?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, that's nice add-on to everything else, but you shouldn't waste your time, like, as in terms of strategy. That shouldn't be definitely your first argument that you're going to pick, right? Does it make sense? Sort of. Anyone else? Go.
Okay.
Shoot.
So the reason you would sue someone in court and probably win is that they have some obligation toward you. The two things I want to prove today is that firstly, governments in general have a responsibility toward their people, and secondly, that in the case of Nepal concretely, the government has absolutely failed to fulfill that obligation and therefore should be sued based on compensation. Okay, so in regards to the first thing, why are governments responsible to the people? Because we live in a social contract society. Because we as individuals choose to give up some of our freedoms and some of our resources in order to have a government. The primary idea of government is to protect its people. That's why we have police, that's why we have the military, and so on and so forth. So the basic idea of the government, its basic function, is to protect its people. And the people are giving toward the government and giving away their freedoms and giving away their taxes. So in that sense, governments are responsible to keep the health and safety of their people. Why in the case of Nepal has the government failed? Firstly, because the government has absolutely ignored credible warnings. It has ignored the warnings of experts who might have saved billions of lives. In that sort of circumstance, they have not taken the adequate measures and they have not behaved in a proper way. So they have not taken all the necessary measures to protect their citizens, which is their basic obligation, and that is why they should be sued.
Any comments on this? Yeah, everybody's happy, but any comments on this? He starts off and saying, when do we sue someone, right? And what's your comment on that?
In many cases.
In many cases, but he picks one, right? Can we debate on whether or not that's the fact? So,
sure, you can debate on that. And
about what? Which part?
The obligation part. You might sue someone that doesn't have an obligation towards you.
No. Can we debate whether or not the government has the obligation towards us?
Yeah, with a social contract. It depends who we're talking about. Thomas Hobbes and philosophers like that, yeah, you should. But we have also philosophers, if you want to name them, which believe that the country is only there just as a body that doesn't do actually anything.
Okay, but if we leave philosophers aside, right?
Yeah.
If we say, let's forget about social contract for a bit, just for a bit, right? In a practical world, does the government have any obligations towards, I don't know, let's say poor people, hungry people, homeless people, sick people?
Depends where.
Depends where. What does that mean?
Every country has their different strategy towards their citizens.
Does Indian government has an obligation towards all its poor people?
Can you please repeat the last part? I didn't hear you.
Indian government and their poor people, do they have any obligation to help them? No. Yes. No. Yes. Yes. No.
Yes.
Yes.
Because they were elected by the people, so
All right.
A problem I had with this argument, and the basis for my counter-argument, because I wrote Azov, is that a government has an obligation to certain classes, for example the poor and so on, and the people in general, but this obligation is only to a certain extent and a certain threshold. We need to find that threshold, and I believe that, especially in the example with the poor people, we do not have an obligation to make them rich or to give them proper housing and so on. You have an obligation to provide for them some minimal threshold of living. And in the case with earthquakes, we need to find whether the government is responsible to meet a higher threshold, for example, to evacuate people, which he mentioned, or to tell them to evacuate, as he mentioned, and see whether or not the government can do that and is obligated to do that in order to be sued and be held responsible. And in the case of Nepal, it could be very well be argued that Nepal does not have that obligation because it does not have the resources to do so.
Great. Good enough.
Breaking the cause.
Okay. That means that you're done.
Yes, our group is done.
Is everybody coming back?
No, I'll just have a group for now.
Right. Good. Third group. Get out. Divide yourselves in two. Make me a team line and a case. Just the basic outline for the prof and for